We've been waiting for this week for quite some time. Hellfire Gala 2.0, one of the worst ideas in X-Men history, brought back for a second round, but tweaked a little bit. And I must say, this year's version of Hellfire Gala is eminently more bearable than the very first one, because it's just a one-shot. It's 72 pages. And Gerry Duggan, as generic a writer as he is, he's not anywhere near as bad as having like a Vita Ayala, a Leah Williams, a Steve Orlando, and some of the other really bad creators in the X-Men office being forced into an event like this. So I'm glad they trimmed it down to this one issue, but it is still $8, and it's not very good. It could probably be more bearable. It wouldn't be like bad, and I do consider this a bad comic book because it is pretty much aimless. But if it didn't have the really bad humor, and Gerry Duggan is a terrible comedic writer, anytime he tries to do jokes or any type of humor, it never lands. It's always wah wah because he's just not funny. And there's way too many attempts at humor in this Hellfire Gala. And I don't think it really justifies its existence even. You could have included the reveals in this comic book in 2 pages of another comic, and it would have been just fine. But it is still bad. Let's talk about it. X-Men Hellfire Gala #1. Writer Gerry Duggan, artist Chris Anka, Russell Dowderman, Matteo Lolli, CF Villa, all working on this one. I do not think it justifies an $8 cover price. For the most part, this feels like a free comic book day issue that has random scenes talking about the other things that are happening in the Marvel Comics universe. There is one thing, I guess, that binds this together, really, and it's that X-Men Resurrection is no longer a secret. It's out in the open. Ben Ulrich reported it. It's in the Daily Bugle. I guess this was supposed to be one of the biggest events in X-Men history because the entire Marvel Comics universe is talking about that, at least in this issue. I haven't seen them talk about it anywhere else. But in the Hellfire Gala, it's what everyone is talking about. It's the only glue that ties this entire story together. But for the most part, it's just random scenes of people talking to each other about stuff they know, setting things up to happen in other issues that are actually important. Let's get into some of the very random scenes and some of the really bad jokes. We start off with a few pages of Jean Grey and Cyclops having this discussion about mutant resurrection. Who should they tell? Should they be on the Quiet Council? Did they make the right choice? It happened then, and then it goes to now, and they're about to make love because apparently we needed a sex scene in this one. And then they just decide to piss all over Gambit. It was just the weirdest part. Jean Grey says, if Mutandom blames you for telling the truth because he's the one that gave the information to Ben Urich for the story that's released, she says, then you can replace Gambit in the kitchen. I'm a big fan of Gambit. I did not like that at all, and I don't think many Gambit fans are going to like that either. That's really just a kick in the nuts to a character that's being destroyed as we speak by Tini Howard and her terrible comic book writing. Gambit never earned that one, and I don't know why Jean Grey or Cyclops would talk about him like that. But this is another joke that absolutely lands flat. It's not very funny, and I don't like the treatment of Gambit pretty much in any of the X-Men comic books. Then we do get an update on MJ and Moira. Last we saw in Free Comic Book Day, it appeared that Moira was going to wear MJ's skin as a suit to get into the Hellfire Gala because she had an invitation because apparently she's a brand ambassador for Krakoan medicine. Only the mind of Gerry Duggan could be that lame. I think they noticed the negative feedback and decided, yeah, let's not skin Mary Jane alive and let Moira wear, even though she's done that in the past in the comic books. So what she does is she removes her arm and she puts it on Mary Jane as a necklace. And apparently that makes Mary Jane like a drone. So she's piloting her through the Hellfire Gala the entire time. So there you go. Mary Jane is not skin alive. She's got a hand necklace that Moira McTaggart, the robot, clairvoyant robot? That doesn't make any sense, but I believe that's what they're going for in here. We see the 5, and because of the article getting out, Krakoa is on lockdown, even though they're still going to do the Hellfire Gala, and they want the 5 like sequestered away from all the party goers. They need to keep them safe because you can't have Resurrection without the 5. And Magic is there to make sure that these goofballs do not go to the party. Of course, they do crash the party later, and it was stupid, but that's besides the point. But this is the worst joke in the entire comic book, and this is what old Goldball says. This is the joke of the year from old Gerry Duggan because he's just he's real funny. I didn't even want to go to the party, but now they tell me I can't go to the party. The party has become my new sexual orientation. I will have that party. That is the worst joke in a long list of very bad jokes. I'll highlight one or two more before this is done, but that was absolutely stupid and made Goldballs look worse than he already did, and he's already a dumb character. We got another reveal that just came essentially out of nowhere. Apparently, Sync, his time in the vault has changed the way that he can use his mutant power, which is essentially he can mimic other mutants that are in proximity to him. He can mimic their powers. Apparently now, because he was in the vault for 500 years, he has a new power to where he can use memory muscle to use mutant abilities from other mutants when he's not near them, which was a continuity error by Gerry Duggan in some of the previous issues. I guess this is trying to clean it up, but now if he uses that memory muscle when they're far away, he ages. We've never seen him age a single day in the entire 12-issue run from Gerry Duggan. We get to Hellfire Gala, and it appears that he has aged about 25 years overnight. This is an ongoing problem that I guess Gerry Duggan just decided to put in randomly. We could have foreshadowed this and maybe shown Sync with some gray hairs here or there, or maybe having to put on some skin toner or something like that so he can look a little bit younger. But Gerry Duggan doesn't think about comic book writing like that. He doesn't think ahead, and he just decided to throw this in here. It's almost like the same thing that happened with X-23 when she was being marionetted like a puppet, even though she doesn't have an adamantium skeleton. And the next thing you know, Proteus is like, yeah, I accidentally put an adamantium skeleton on Laura. And you're like, oh, I guess you got around that continuity error where you fucked that part of the story up too. Gerry Duggan kind of does that a lot. That's the way I took this. This is absolutely stupid. We get into the party. The gala has kicked off. We're getting all these stupid introductions. There are a bunch of, it's hard to call them celebrities. John Hamm is in here multiple times. Apparently he and Emma Frost have had some type of relationship in the past. It seems like it's probably sexual. He's the only thing, I guess, that's a celebrity. You do see C.B. Cebulski, Jordan White, and some other dipshits in the background here and there. Jordan White even has a speaking part that we will hit up here in a minute. So as they're getting the introductions, Mary Jane walks by Spider-Man, and something weird's happening. He realizes Dr. Doom is there, and we get this stupid David Bowie joke that everyone's been talking about. Oh, I should have known you were creeping on me. So, Doom, which mutants are you most looking forward to being resurrected? Because everyone's talking about resurrection. Maybe Jimi Hendrix or David Bowie. What am I talking about? You probably just listened to fascist marching music, right? And then Doom says, leave me. Could Bowie have been a mutant? Another classic joke from Gerry Duggan. And then, for some reason, Fei Long is invited to the Hellfire Gala. This is the dude that's fighting tooth and nail against the mutants on Krakoa. He's a card-carrying member of Orcus, their biggest enemy. They know all of this, and they decided to let him on Krakoa anyway. Why don't you just cut the balls off the villain in front of everybody? I don't know why they would allow him to be here. I don't know why he would want to be there unless he was gathering intelligence. But he does appear to strike up some type of light friendship with Tony Stark, who absolutely looks ridiculous. Of all the people that are dressed in this, and it's almost all ridiculous, he looks the most stupid, without a doubt. Whoever came up with that design, you're giving metrosexuals a bad name. Tony Stark would never wear that because he would never look stupid. He looks cool when he goes to a party, but that is not what they're doing here. This does lead into one of the interesting conversations in this comic book that actually felt important, kind of, even though this happened 2 years ago. We get this conversation by Tony Stark, who appears to be very cynical regarding the mutants of Krakoa. He's talking to Reed Richards. He asks him, did you know about resurrection? Reed says no. Tony says, well, don't feel bad. Are you sure none of them put a whammy on you to make you forget anything? And he says, no. And then Tony says, excuse me. Reed says, Charles and Eric came to me. They took something from my mind. I figured out how to mask the X gene. They made no secret of taking the knowledge they wanted me to know. And then Tony says, I'd better prioritize inhibitors. Why anybody would go to this party without inhibitors or like sonic blockers or something like that is absolutely insane, since they do exist in this universe, and they know the entire party is full of mutant telepaths. But that's neither here nor there. You can see C.B. Cebulski in the background looking like a moron. And he says, let's talk, not here, not tonight. I hate to break it to you two guys, because you don't have inhibitors. Every mutant there knows what you just said, and they know that you're talking about having a secret meeting. Not surprising that Gerry Duggan didn't think about this. This is an interesting conversation. I wish it took place 18 months ago, if not earlier than that. The X-Men versus Fantastic Four miniseries from Chip Zdarsky has been over for 2 years. When Charles and Xavier did what they're talking about, where he went in and he removed something from his mind. And it feels like it's too little too late. This should have been the impetus for like real conflict between the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, and they just ignored it for 2 years. But I am somewhat happy they finally remembered that it happened, and it should have been a big deal, so I'll give them kudos for this page, I guess. And then we have this strange scene where MJ is kind of hitting on Proteus, and then MJ reveals she's not MJ, she's actually Moira, and she's talking to Proteus, and then she's just really mean to him and talking about what a complete loser he is. So I guess that he'll, I don't know, disintegrate or die or something, maybe kill himself, so they won't have a 5 anymore. At least that's the way I took it. And then Spider-Man like runs in here and he's like, get your hands off her, energy hands guy. And he tries to take the necklace hand thing from Moira off of MJ, which is controlling her. And she like tries to rip it off and it shocks him. And then Wolverine shows up and he's like, let him go, let her go. And then she leaves. And there is an update on that. That'll be the last thing I talk about in this issue of random nothingness that happens. I thought this was probably the strangest page in the entire comic book. We got this weird thing going on where Cyclops is revealing everything that's happened to him to Emma Frost, and then Emma Frost reveals everything that she knows to Cyclops, and they realize they've all been lied to him, whatever. And then in the background, you get Jordan White. He's talking to Heather Ontos, and he says, see, I told you I could get you in, which feels like an inside joke about Marvel Comics. And then she says, great, but what I really want is to get on a book. I guess that's a joke, like ha-ha, about how Heather Ontos broke into the industry because she met Jordan White, I believe, at a comic convention and said, I want to write comic books. And I believe he told her, you need to go like make an independent comic. And then she edited like one, and then he hired her or something like that. I'm really surprised they put this in there. It's plain as day to see what they're talking about. Jordan White's kind of a creeper, but it's in there. And apparently he approved it. More random things happening. Apparently, Scarlet Witch is going to announce the new team, which made no sense whatsoever. I mean, she did only turn like almost every mutant in the world to not be a mutant, and she's a great enemy, but apparently everyone loves her. And she gets to announce the new team, and they're talking like Magic is going to be on the team, and Bishop isn't happy about this. This is the worst page of the whole thing. I feel so bad for Bishop. She says, I haven't even done this dance, and anybody who wants the roster spot over me is going to have to fight for it, because they're like doing nominations. And Bishop says, wait, would that mean they have 2 captains on the X-Men talking about the Captain Commanders, which I believe he's the #1 ranking guy now that Cyclops is out, I think? Psylocke says, well, there are 2 captains on the Marauders, but the real question is, do you want to fight Magic? Look at Bishop's face. No, I do not. And he just looks so sad with his pouty lips. He looks like an absolute complete bitch. Why would you make Bishop one of the most badass characters in the entire Marvel Comics X-Men universe bitch made? I don't get it, but this is one of the most pathetic panels you will ever see in a Marvel comic. There's no hope for Bishop. He's too masculine. He's too cool to survive in the X-Men shop. They are no longer writing comic books for like regular guys that like comic books. These are written for very flamboyant straight and gay men, and then girls that think they're really tough, but they're not. That's exactly who they're writing these comic books for. And then you get like a character like Bishop. He's too masculine for the audience that they're trying to entice with the comic book, and it's absolutely depressing. And you can see it right there on the face of the character. And then we do get the big reveal of the team. You know what's really weird here? You look at Firestar. She looks absolutely beside herself depressed. She never looks like this or acts like that in the previous pages. But all of a sudden, when they announce the team, she's in the back. She's very depressed. Iceman is being pretty flamboyant because he's the new Iceman. We've got Magic flexing. But then when we get down to Sync, who we've just seen looks like he's about 55, 60 years old. He looks like he's 18 again. I guess he plucked. Is that what he did? Did he pluck his beard? So all of a sudden he looks like he's a teenager again, even though earlier we just found out that he's aging rapidly. Did they murder Sync and resurrect him like in real time? Is that what happened? Why does he look this young after you just had the big reveal that he looks fucking old now? It's like maybe the artists aren't talking to each other and Gerry Duggan forgot this part of the story when he was writing the script. That's the only way that I can figure out how this even works. But I guess this is really the only thing this comic book is about other than people gossiping and arguing about resurrection. And then in the final page, Moira finally comes back. You can see she's got both her arms at this point, and she's cleaning blood off her hands, which clearly to me indicates that she murdered MJ when she left Krakoa through one of the Krakoan gates. Why they let her leave, I don't know. I think that's what Sage is there there to do is to make sure that people don't go through the gates unless they're supposed to, but they let her leave. Apparently she killed MJ. She killed somebody. She was clearly washing blood off both of her hands. She didn't have one arm when it was tied around MJ's neck. Oh my goodness. And then we get the tie-in to the Eternals because we have Axe Judgment Day kicking off. Well, I guess it kind of kicks off this week because we got the first issue of that. And she tells the Eternals that there are 5 deviants on Krakoa, and it is the 5. It's Gold Balls, it's Hope, it's Proteus, it's Elixir, Tempest, and they need to be destroyed by the Eternals. And I guess that's going to be part of Axe Judgment Day, if you're excited for that. And that is me trying to navigate my way through 72 pages of absolutely unfocused, directionless comic book. Sure, there's some glue that ties it all together. Mutant Resurrection and people knowing about it, and they talk about it a whole lot of times. We get a couple of conversations that were interesting, specifically about the Reed Richards being mind wipe stuff. Mary Jane, Moira, who knows? Looks like she's dead. At least that's the way I took it. There's a lot of cat fighting, really a lot of stupid jokes. I highlighted a lot of those. One really weird inside joke with Jordan White and Heather Ontos. I'm surprised they put that in there, but I guess. And we got a new X-Men team. Are you excited about this X-Men team? Obviously, we knew about it beforehand, and Doc and I talked about this last weekend. We said, hey, we know who the X-Men are. This is what the team is, and this is what we think about it. If you have thoughts about the X-Men team, listen to what we think and definitely share it with us. We want to talk about this stuff. I'm excited about some of the members. I'm just not excited about Gerry Duggan writing them.